Thank you, Uday. Thank you, Aryan, for coming on today's episode of Mera Pehla Crore. I'm really, really excited to have you here. You're doing something new in the EV space, and you're creating an aggregator marketplace for all things EV for the next generation to come. And I'm really excited to understand your journey of how you landed up with Lilypad, and because you have an interesting equation with the two of you as well, because you have 22 years of experience, and Aryan is 18 years old, just starting out fresh in the market, and he's starting up as his first venture or job right now. So I would just like to understand your stories a little better. If you could introduce yourself, starting with Uday probably, and then to Aryan, and I think that would be a great place to start the episode.
Sure. Thanks, Osama. Firstly, great initiative. And, you're also relatively new to this space. So, kudos for starting
Thank you.
something new and all the very best. And, Aryan and I are happy that you've invited us and we're going to share a little bit about our journey. Hopefully, if a couple of people can take inspiration, I think that would have been a job well done. So, I'll go first because Aryan's story is much more interesting. He should go second, and it's always age before beauty, right? So I'll go first. Um, I've been working since 2001. I come from a very standard 4G teacher kind of combo. My dad was in the Navy, my mom was a teacher. So grown up, all over.
Right.
I spent time in Delhi, Bombay, Kochi, in Russia, so on and so forth. And a bulk of my 22 years was in consulting. So I've spent 5 years with an emerging markets entry and growth strategy company. I spent a couple of years consulting with KPMG. I spent 3 years with Ernst& Young before really starting, Lilypad. And then about 10 odd years, I've worked in various sales and business development roles in various tech companies.
Okay.
So very, excited to kind of share our story. Aryan, over to you.
Thank you for inviting us again. And how Uday started working from 2001, I wasn't even born in 2001. So
Yeah.
I'm 18 years old. I have basically, I am a trader and an angel investor. How this came into the equation was I used to love gaming, and that's how my life initially started off with a PlayStation. Further switched to a PC, and I got into the whole gaming community, talking on calls 24 hours a day, not going to school, enjoying video games. Over there, I met a couple of friends who were definitely older than me and who were much more oriented towards earning money as well as, hustling through the grounds of this thing, but loved gaming as a passion. Those people motivated me a lot, and seeing them, uh, they were all traders, and seeing them, I got a bit used to the game and understood it and got into that community. In about 6.5 years ago, I got approximately $200 or 14,000 rupees at that day, uh, that I was given for trading. And I, yeah, further took it to a very, very decent amount sitting today, and very solid amount. And that's how it started off. And throughout my journey, I met a bunch of people, a bunch of great people, helped them create companies, invested in their companies. One of my most prominent investments is Blue Smart. I own quite a bit of stake in that company. Um, through another venture, and that's just my angel investing journey. And me and Uday met in the gym. We both work out together. So about 2 years ago we were working out together, and with my Blue Smart investment, since that was reasonably making a lot of change, um the we found the EV ecosystem to be absolutely early, somewhat in a very, very early in segment. So with this perspective, me and Uday decided to make a change in this ecosystem and jump in early as well. We had our initial ideations of creating a solar charging station, setting up the whole charging infrastructure, making it entire great and nice, but we realized that takes way too much money, which we don't have.
Yeah.
So after changing 8 to 10 plans of ours, writing it down in documents, doing it again and again and again, hiring interns, hiring consultants, we realized that everything was a waste until we have everything planned out. So
Yeah.
that's when Uday came up with this grand idea of the e-commerce marketplace. And we built the vision further and further. And today it is what it is because of, I think, both of us adding value to it. So yeah.
But that's great. I'm really this is my first, like I've spoken about Blue Smart investment a lot in my previous podcast, and I'm finally happy to have an investor in Blue Smart on my podcast. So I
Mhm.
think, like small world, yeah, but really happy to have you here, and that's a great journey. And started so young. Like I think you are an inspiration to a lot of people already. So I like, and I really would love to understand your journey a little deeper. And I think you a lot of first, like Uday was saying that you guys are podcast virgins. I think
Mhm.
I have some virginity in the segment of the guests. So like the typical guest that I've gotten, you're the first gamer that I have on the panel. You're the first Blue Smart investor that I have. You're the first EV startup that I have on the panel. You both, and I think it's going to be a really interesting journey. So yeah,
Yeah.
what's Lilypad? Can we deep dive into it? Like, how's the journey been like? And you recently raised a crore pre-seed round, right? And
Yeah,
so
correct.
yeah, so I think that's the typical Mera Pehla Crore conversation that we could have around Lilypad.
Yeah. So I think, Uday, let me take this question up because I want to start with the initial days when it started off. So back in 2023, this was after my boards had ended. March, May, they ended, and in after that, I was talking to a bunch of friends in this trading community, and everybody was like, EV charging stations would be the next best thing. We were all looking out for cash flow businesses that we could jump into so that we're able to make a solid monthly revenue and sit back and relax. And at that time, we were discussing starting off with EV charging stations that, this is a monthly great cash flow method, pick out good locations, put in money, nothing you don't need to do anything. You sit back, relax, and
Yeah,
that's about it. So I took this idea, so I come from a complete middle class back family. Um, but however, I consider my dad to be one of the smartest people I know. And he, however, he comes with a great interest in business and knowledge. He's a great musician. So what he today he's a like a musician and he plays around places, cafes, etc., etc. But I share all my business insights with him and everything. So I went up to him and he was like, "Why don't you start one? Why don't you make a company that does EV charging stations?" So, I was like, okay, that is possible because I've always sat on the investor seat behind, and I've never seen the exact world or struggle of what it takes to actually be the owner of a company and running it. And but I always had that dream that if I have to make my first billion, see, my vision and my goal comes not just with simple money of crores, but multiple thousands of them.
yeah,
So that's how, with that starting, my dad was like, why don't you make a company out of it? So that's when the day Lilypad was born, which was approximately 15th of April, 2023. And that day only, dad was like, what will you name your company? And I kid you not, and honestly, to be fair, this is with all honesty and truth. We give a whole story, long short story that why this name is there, but actually, to be honest, गलती से निकल गया था मुंह से.
okay,
And it was all random. It was very, very random. I don't know how it happened, but I just said the name of like Lilypad, and that's how it was there. It's like, yeah, that's your name, and that's
yeah,
what we did. So, but the story, the reasonable intellectual story is that we thought that how a frog sits on a lily pad because it's green in color and this thing. So that's how an EV charging station would be. That's how we imagine it, but that's not how it
yeah,
went by.
yeah.
So that's mostly it. So that's how it started off, and that's what it was.
But that's so cool. But how did you pivot from like starting up as a EV charging station to making or building, like you told me that Uday brought the grand idea of building a e-commerce marketplace for EVs. So
Yeah.
is this a stepping stone that you're using right now to get into the EV market yourself and then eventually get into the charging station market?
I think Uday has the better answer to this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Osama, the fact of the matter is that charging stations are a great business opportunity, but very, very capital intensive. So the
Yeah.
capex requirement is certain, and the rate of return depends on the percentage of time the charging station is utilized.
Yeah.
So India currently is way behind the curve. The opportunity is large, but it is for, I think winners will be two or three very well capitalized companies who
Yeah.
have the wherewithal to ride this storm. For us, at that point, it wasn't a play. So remember, Aryan spoke about multiple business models. That was just one model. We looked at EV training courses, we looked at EV jobs, we looked at the gig worker economy,
Yeah.
and we wanted really something that would be an excellent starting point, is relatively easy to get into, and serves a very, very massive kind of untapped need, or a need that is continuously evolving. The reason getting into EVs, I think we all know, right? Pollution, the government's giving all the right signals. You have large companies who are making a lot of investments to the tune of thousands of crores in battery technology and so on and so forth. So we believe, at least for the form factor we have chosen, which is two-wheelers, EVs are a great punt. And beyond that, as we really started, if you recall, Aryan said April 23. We were incorporated in middle of July 23. So we've actually spent an inordinate amount of time just spending, reading, researching. We hired interns from IIM Bangalore. We hired because we were naive. We were like, बैटरी में केमिकल होता है तो केमिकल इंजीनियर चाहिए, सबसे अच्छे केमिकल इंजीनियर आईआईटी में मिलेंगे. We hired a couple of chemical engineers from IIT Bombay.
Yeah.
And over the period of 1 year, I kid you not, we have interviewed 500 plus people,
Yeah.
customers, potential customers, manufacturers, dealer distributors. And we realized that there were a couple of big, big pain points. And I think in conclusion, right now India's at a space where we are doing about 1 lakh sales a month, give or
Mm-hmm.
take. The penetration of two-wheeler electric vehicles is between 5 or 6% given the month of the year. So out
Mm-hmm.
of 100 two-wheelers sold, 5 या 6 EVs हैं.
Yeah.
China is at 30 plus.
Yeah, of course.
Government of India says that by 2030 we could be as high as 35, 40, 45% penetration.
Yeah.
So, last year India overtook China as the largest two-wheeler market in the world. So two-wheelers are a big, big segment
Yeah.
for us. They serve a community that is very, very cost conscious. It equally serves a community that is small but growing, that is environmentally conscious. So I think from our standpoint, and as we progress in the conversation, I'll talk about what are those pain points. But we definitely saw a pain point in that, access to an unbiased platform that sits in the middle of the buyer and seller and provides the widest variety of products on display, could be a starting point. So that was what we started to do at the onset. The next pain point we realized was customers really need to look and touch and feel a product. And
Yeah.
typically, if you look at it, EV showrooms are always 4 or 5 times, further away than a petrol showroom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just getting people to access products is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Dealers across the board do not have enough walk-ins.
Yeah.
So we said that's a problem that we want to solve. And I think downstream there will be several problems, but in conclusion, uh, OEMs and dealer distributors face 4 or 5 problems.
Yeah.
And I think Lilypad has been set up to very slowly but surely, across multiple stages, start to solve this problem.
Yeah.
What's our end goal in our current avatar? Our end goal in our current avatar is just like today, Osama can buy a iPhone on Blinkit. There should come a point in time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, where he could very easily buy a Bajaj or a Hero or a Ola two-wheeler EV from the comfort of his home. So, as of now, the way we have set up, there are two types of products in the market. There are low speed products and there are high speed products. Low speed products don't require RC license and all of those things.
Okay.
And it is those products that we've already started selling from our platform. So the
Okay.
uniqueness compared to a bike wale bike dekho is that they don't allow direct sales.
Yeah.
We, on the other hand, at least for the low speed segment, allow for direct sales. For the high speed segment, we are still in the business of providing those well qualified potential customers to some of our partners.
Okay.
So I think that in conclusion is pretty much why within this entire gamut of electric, we chose the e-commerce route.
Got it. And but we also spoke about that you uh, deliberately chose to raise a small pre-seed round. because you want to scale as a profitable bootstrapped sort of company, but just need an initial boost to get started. So, why was that number 1 crore? Just for aspiring founders understanding, why is that number 1 crore? Why did you stop at 1 crore? Why not more than? Why not less than 1 crore? And who did you raise it from? Who were these people who believed in your dreams at this early stage?
So, I mean, very simply, how um, I'll just start off with who were these people, um, and why this amount. So, I mean, why this amount? Well, specifically to say our financial calculations worked in that way that for the next 12 to 15 months, this would be a suitable amount where I'll tell you the problem. When you raise too much money, you come into an overspending. You come into a mindset that, okay, I have the propensity to spend 20, 30 lakhs a month.
Yeah.
Now, when you cap to a specific budget, let's say if I raise 10 crores tomorrow, and I come into this mindset that I have 10 lakh rupees that I can spend every month, or 20, 30 lakh rupees that I can spend every month, I would still have a great runway and I would have this. So fundraising is an entire psychological game. With the amount you have in the bank, you have the propensity to be able to spend as much as you want and not realize that the outcome would be beneficial to it. When you raise a smaller round for yourself, you try to make the best of it. So, you know, it's very simple. Human needs work in such a way that whatever you have, you always want more. So, whenever you're in that way, why we didn't raise more is because we would get into this mindset that is very, very normal and habitual for everybody who raises money, that, we have this much money, we can afford to lose it. To be fair, you can't lose it. It's not your
Mm.
money. It's
Yeah.
people who are betting on you. It's their
Yeah.
money. So you don't have the propensity, because if you lose here and if you don't succeed, you won't be able to raise a round further ahead. You won't come into a profitable cash flowing business.
Yeah.
You would always come into this mindset that I'll have more money to spend, but rather, for example, you would pay salaries to yourself when your company is not even making any sort of revenue. So
Yeah.
that's very stupid of, I would say personally, I understand why people do get into that mindset, but that's what we wanted to avoid altogether. So now, who were these people? Well, specifically, you could say these are angel investors who've been working with me for a decently long time, about 2.5 years. So I've invested in over 90 plus companies from
Okay.
Web3 to Web2, so in a combination. Now, since with this, there have been a lot of people who've made great money because of me, who've seen me grow from, the 13-year-old kid to the 18-year-old kid today, who have seen me absolutely win bets and lose bets as well, but honor them. Um, so with that dedication and this thing, there were a lot of people who were willing to, more than happy to be able to jump into this and help take this company forward when we asked them to.
Okay, nice. And so one thing that strikes my thought process right now is I read a post from Nikhil Kamath, I believe, who was talking about the next UPI sort of revolution in India would be UEI, Unified Energy Interface, I think,
Mhm,
which already has an app by the government, which is a discovery platform for all the charging stations, if I'm not wrong, currently, but will
mhm.
grow into something more uh, like empowering for the EV movement
Correct.
altogether. So, what would you? Because we don't see a lot of UEI apps today, but we do see a lot of. We still see some new UPI apps coming up. Like I saw one on India's Got Latent by Samir. I think Pop,
Mhm.
um, sorry, Pop UPI or something like that, which is coming up. But so, what is your vision for do you have any plans for incorporating that segment of the market as well? Like UEI in some way. I don't know how it works. I'm just asking as a curious person.
So, I'm not too sure that we have it in our plans or not. We actually, me and Uday had the discussion as well.
Okay.
And Uday can also highlight his opinions about it after me. But very simply, what had happened was that, while we were discussing the bunch of ideas, before even Nikhil Kamath posted this, um, the charging infrastructure again has one breakage in it, that the payment system works in a way that every company has its own cards. So if let's say it's a static EV charger, you will need to recharge the static card. You need to be able to UPI it through that, or however you need to have that wallet ready. Same way, if you have, like, let's say a Tata EV, you need a Tata EV card for that. So there are multiple, this ways you have to keep like 14, 15 cards in your wallet, just so if you set out for a road trip, you don't know what you're exactly going to find.
Yeah.
Um, and at this level of EV charging stations and what we have in India, it's a complete disaster. So in one shape or form, we had this plan to be able to integrate somewhat of like, so very frankly to say, why also the name of Lilypad came into play was because we could expand this name in so many figures. So what we found out here was we could make something as Lily Pay. Now, Lily Pay comes into this factor that it becomes a financial product more for these you and I's exactly, and we're able to empower this and create a one for all, because it's basically the same system. We just need an RFID code that's
Yeah.
verified to all of them. That's
Yeah.
mostly it. So I think Uday can highlight on that more, but for now we don't have this in plans.
Okay.
Yeah, I think UEI is something that has been in the work for some time, right? And it's an open protocol that allows basically interoperability. So that means that just like Aryan said, right? I mean, you could have multiple CPOs, charge point operators, and the whole business of uh, getting energy from the grid, getting energy to consumers, and then getting energy at times back to the grid, right? So there's a that currently is a big and a perhaps broken process. But again, the whole payments business is not something that we are very conversant with. I think just to your point, of our ambition is to own what marketeers call the top of the funnel. And I noticed also that marketing is an area that, is perhaps bread and butter for you,
Yeah.
right? So if you look at it today, you go to a new city, right? And you want to order something, you don't go to Google to search. You go to Zomato to search. If you want to buy a petrol car, you don't go to perhaps even Google or even a car wale. You go to maybe a Team BHP. So there are these specialist platforms that own and control the top of the
Yeah.
funnel. So I think what we want to do eventually is to, not only so own the top of the funnel. So whenever anyone thinks of two-wheeler EVs, we're not just restricted to buying and selling of vehicles. We also have elements like we are speaking with one of the largest safety and fire secure, fire related safety companies in the country to develop a form factor that is kind of, compatible with two wheelers. We're already speaking with a couple of charging companies for home chargers. Uh, in addition to this, there will be a lot of API based integrations to be able to solve several pain points of customers. So, what is the pain point of a customer? The pain point of a customer is ki I have a two-wheeler petrol, who's going to sell it and then where do I buy from? So you need to have a seller of, used products. You need to have people who can provide you with financing, insurance, servicing, roadside assistance, extended warranty. So I think it is this, coming together of many products and services
Yeah.
all through a single interface. So to that extent, we are in principle similar to a UEI, but the focus is slightly different, right?
Okay.
So uh, I think there is, like I said, the desire is one to be a specialist in sustainable energy and mobility. The desire is to focus on two-wheeler EVs because we believe that electric will be the best for the two-wheeler form factor. I think for four-wheelers, there still will be alternates coming up. People are
Yeah.
talking about hydrogen in a big way, so on and so forth. Uh, but yeah, when it comes to two-wheelers, not just restricted to one particular form factor, be it kick scooters or segways or cycles or low-speed scooters, high-speed scooters, motorcycles, or what are called trikes, which are basically three-wheelers, but come under the motorcycle category. We want to be the one-stop discovery platform to start with. We want to be the one-stop purchase platform to continue with, and we want to be the one-stop ancillary platform or the platform for everything allied in that ecosystem, be it financing, be it servicing, be it charging, be it safety, be it jobs, be it training. Of course, I think when we speak with potential investors. We don't lay out this entire
Of
plan
course.
because then people say that we are all over
Yeah.
the place. But trust me, I've been a consultant. Aryan has seen the 30, 40 pager documents that I work on pretty much every day, which I'm sure he feels, I don't know what this man works on. But, even within this chaos, we are trying to figure out what should be the next step and the step thereafter.
Yeah. So, but in terms of discovery, you're not trying to solve for discovery of the charging stations in particular cities, like you mentioned Zomato. So Zomato, it does not only solve the delivery problem. It originally started with the discovery problem
Correct.
of restaurants. So I think many people today would not know where the charging stations are. I understand that Google Maps are a way to go by for finding them, but if there's one platform that could like improve the user interface in some way or user experience in a way that could be more easily accessible, or that is one part one of the question. The part two of the question that interests me in general is that, is there a way where everyone can become an EV charger, like platform, like station? So like I can have an EV charger at in my parking, right? I can outsource it to some other person. Can there be an Airbnb for EV chargers?
Yeah. Or even an Uber for EV chargers, because in the US, you have people like you and me who in their spare time, use their car as an Uber ride, right?
Yeah.
Even to the extent of, I'm going to the airport every 10 days. It's only on that trip that I decide to have someone
Yeah.
buddy along with me. So insofar as the first part, yeah, discovering chargers is definitely something where at the moment we don't have a revenue model around it, but from we are in this to enable and make your life easier perspective. Definitely version 2 of the platform that should start development perhaps end March, early April. We certainly have that.
Okay.
And it's not like it is something that requires a massive, manual or a data
Yeah.
entry kind of thing. It is
Yeah.
the government has enough, digital infrastructure available to be
Yeah.
able to provide this. So, our head of technology has actually insisted on this as something that we need to incorporate. So yes, I think your second question, can I be part of the kind of, I don't know whether you call it gig economy, maybe, but can I rent out my purchased infrastructure and
Yeah.
make some money
Is
on
that
that?
legally allowed? That is also what I want to understand. Like, do you have any idea about that?
No, I don't. But what I'll do
Okay.
is I'll take a look, and I think that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Thanks. Yeah.
And if we ever do it, we'll call it the Osama model.
Thank you so much. But I honestly think that people who are able to, like, why is Zomato, like I'm just giving my perspective. Why is Zomato, Blue Smart? Let's talk about Blue Smart for a more relatable answer. Why is Blue Smart such a great company? It's like obviously demand is there. Everyone needs a cab, but nobody needs a new cab company. But it's basically, in my opinion, I am a huge fan of Blue Smart myself. So my opinion, personal opinion, is that the drivers are great. It's creating a good opportunity for training professional drivers and providing them a platform to function in, which Uber is not. So that is where Blue Smart is killing the market for them.
I'll actually give
Uber,
you another perspective to
yeah.
this. I mean, you can finish up and then
Yeah, yeah.
I'll go ahead.
So basically, it's creating job opportunities also, and that's why it's growing like healthy job opportunities. All the Blue Smart drivers that I talk to are big fans of Blue Smart, except for a few exceptions out there, who in other Blue Smart like loyal Blue Smart drivers are saying that ये ओला उबर के drivers hire करने लग गए हैं तो अब वो थोड़ा behavior आने लग गया. But otherwise, the core Blue Smart drivers who have been with them for 3 4 years now are on point. So I think if you can create like earning models, revenue models in for individuals. If I can earn sitting at home, just like Aryan was saying, if EV model, EV charging station is a एक बार setup कर दिया and then you sit back and relax and you earn. So if you can decentralize electricity that way, because everyone has access to electricity, if you, so I think that would be a game changer that nobody else will be able to keep up with. If you get that market, that is the only reason I was
Absolutely.
thinking
And
of building
that's
a
how
big,
most of the businesses succeed
yeah,
as well. I mean, to be able to empower local entrepreneurs and this phase. And we do have our own aspects in this where we can use the gig worker
Yeah,
economy in our favor. Obviously, all the plans can't be said out loud because,
of
well,
course. Yeah,
have their own takes. But a lot will be seen in the first quarter, which will be
yeah,
coming out of our own pocket. That's why this investment was raised after all. But further on, the major portion that comes into play is that you're very right that, when you empower these, I would say, even local entrepreneurs as well as um, all of the gig worker economy, you're able to fulfill a business need as well
yeah,
as lower down operating
yeah.
costs for yourself as well, and which are absolutely spot on. See, a reason why Blue Smart is preferred as of today, I'll give you a very, very simple and a customer behavior and understanding that I have. It's a trend. It's cooler to use a Blue Smart. It's more premium and it's more, uh, as a person who's living in, like, let's say, an upper class side of society, you're traveling to the airport, you're either using a luxury car or using a Blue Smart.
Yeah,
So I would say it also comes as a trend and as a, it gives you a premium feeling that, okay, I'm traveling clean and I'm traveling nice and I'm traveling in a good cab. You get that good feeling, so that's what you prefer. And when you talk like, okay, I used a Blue Smart to go to the airport with your friends or something, they'll start using it as well. So it's this whole premium market that
100%.
I feel like that's been
Yeah,
made because Uber comes on to the perspective of something which is much more not to be crude or anything, but Uber is much more, if you look at it, that the cabs are not that great, the drivers are not that great.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
very haphazard model.
Yeah,
So it becomes as if it's not that higher premium quality as Blue Smart is. So that's
yeah,
one customer perspective that is there apart from all of these things. So that's why I feel like Blue Smart is quite preferred. And while it remains a trend, it'll continue to remain a trend for a very long period of time. But once this trend gets over, Blue Smart will be mainstreamed in such a way that it's already existing and the ecosystem would be created for it in a much better way. So
yeah,
they've done a great job in executing that whole portion.
yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
actually,
Yeah,
I
please go.
think just to add, I think Aryan's bringing a very interesting consumer behavior angle to this, right?
Yeah,
Because when a company becomes a verb, right, that's when you know they've succeeded,
yeah,
right? So you let's blue smart it,
yeah,
or I'm going to a new city, I'm going to Airbnb it.
yeah,
And I think talking about Airbnb, many a times what we do is we try to pick up examples from within our category. But I think if there's one company, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's your thought, let me know if it makes sense. Perhaps Airbnb is that one example that we really need to study hard,
yeah,
because what they did was they took Craigslist, within Craigslist's massive
yeah,
repertoire or directory of listings, they just picked up that holiday rental market.
yeah,
And the reason Airbnb's founders, and they've spoken at length, the reason they got rejected so many times because people were like, Craigslist is already so big. Within that, you're just looking at a small segment and you're looking to kind of, usurp that market. But I think if we try, and what I'm going to do is I think I'll work with you offline. Maybe I'll try to sketch it. What they did to Craigslist is perhaps what we could do to charging. And at the
yeah,
end of the day, you provide the customer that little bit of extra value, and you'll start to
yeah,
see adoption in a very big way.
Yeah,
So
actually,
I
on
love
the
your point.
charging station segment, what we're also doing on Lilypad is we're trying to empower this whole ecosystem in a way that people can also find these charges. I think that's what
yeah,
one of the points meant. We're far from doing that because it takes a bit of time to sketch it out. Right now, the thing is we can use Google Maps APIs to be able to integrate that. But the
yeah.
thing is, the major problem is that charging stations exist, but do they work or not? You don't know that.
The reviews of charging station. I was going to say that
Correct.
the next thing as
Correct. So
well.
it takes
Yeah,
a bit of effort and operation wise as an investment to be able to map that out. And it's a
yeah,
business in itself only to do that.
yeah,
So, people who might be hearing this podcast out, if you guys want to help us out doing that, more than happy to be, getting that on.
yeah,
And even if you guys are wanting to start off something in this, go for it. It's a space where a lot of, I would say, back in the day when petrol was being empowered in vehicles, I would say that's what EVs are today. When, a lot of coal mining was happening. That's what EVs are today. That there's so many
Yeah.
segments that you can empower in this that it's unreal to be able to make, you know, uh, to be able to do just great in it.
Yeah. I completely agree. Do have sort of like, I don't know what to call it except for insider trading sort of a question, but you are building Lilypad. You will be like, let's say you're able to build this mm, new segment revenue model that we were talking about, Airbnb model for charging stations. So then you use it to leverage to Blue Smart. That because Blue Smart drivers, from what my understanding is, they always have to go back to their uh, core
Hubs.
hubs because that is where the right charges are, and and then they have to get charged. Like if they get stopped in the way, then they have to get towed to that place. So there's no
Mhm.
alternative for them because of their exclusivity. So
Yeah.
do you think you have a competitive advantage in the market, being an investor in Blue Smart, that once you decide on uh, executing this decentralized charging model, you can have customers the next day on at scale?
See, I would not say I don't have I would have a competitive advantage in this general because see, BlueSmart is not a very simple company as well. They
Yeah,
have insane models
yeah,
because if you look at it, BlueSmart does not want other people to use other chargers. They want their chargers to be used.
yeah,
That's why they what they've done is this, they don't buy these cars anyways. They just had to buy the initial lot.
yeah,
Now you put your money into it and they'll buy the cars and they'll give you monthly revenue. So they've created
yeah.
this entire economy for themselves. And same way within the charging structure as well, it's much more different in that ways. You can put money and you can get the charging station running, as well as, they don't want other people to use their other chargers as well. They want Blue Smart to come create that ecosystem altogether. Now, with that way, definitely we would be able to help, but it does not bring a competitive advantage of me being an investor.
Okay.
Um, Communications with them is also very difficult. But yeah,
Okay, got it. But uh, yeah, I think like towards the end of the podcast episode, I would like to understand what is the vision that you have in general for the next couple of quarters. You've raised the money for, we talked about it at I think a higher level, that you have raised it for 12, 15 months. You have certain plans. So the next couple of like you have, heard it probably in your Y Combinator pitch that you are doing some couple of lakhs rupees of sales, monthly sales right now. So what is your vision for Lilypad right now? How much you do you want to, where do you want to see yourself, let's say towards the end of next fiscal year? Like how much
I think
revenue do you see yourself doing?
Uday, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, yeah. So, look, the first and foremost aspect for us is to become a premium destination for discovery. So, as of now, we've got 10 wonderful partners and we
Okay.
sell 35 wonderful products. Having said that, across each category, we need to have the top five players listed. I mean, you go to a new e-commerce platform to buy a phone, and if you don't see iPhone or Samsung,
Yeah.
that's not going to be very confidence inspiring.
Yeah.
And I think, with initial momentum comes further momentum. So we are in the process of speaking to companies that are absolute leaders, and
Yeah.
we are speaking with companies who are absolute innovators.
Yeah.
What we want to do is add some of the large players that gives us credibility. What we also want to do is add a couple of smaller players that have truly interesting, unique, world-class products that aren't available online anywhere. So just later today or tomorrow, we will announce a partnership with a company called iGo,
Okay.
and the CEO is a very wonderful gentleman called Shravan. And they've created a very premium product, which is a trike, which is a
Got it.
yeah, a three-wheeler motorcycle category. So I think the discovery part is the first and foremost thing that we want to enable. The second thing we want to enable is the ability for people to be able to have product demos in the comfort of their home.
Okay.
So we're also working on a omni-channel phygital model that will enable this, that अपने घर के comfort में आप गाड़ी मंगाइए देखिए.
Right.
I think this in general is interesting, but for certain segments of the market, elderly people, lady drivers, certain
Yeah.
maybe students, it becomes almost a USP.
Yeah.
So I think over the next quarters, we are going to be focusing on this. But let me tell you what we're trying to do in the grandest scheme of things. Today, you have an OEM and you have a dealer distributor. We have to enable both these parties, right? We have to make them successful. And there are 4 or 5 things that we're looking at, right? I mean, the first, like I said, is the ability to discover a product. The second is the ability to demo a product. The third is the ability to buy a product. The fourth is the ability to finance or service the product, of finance
Yeah.
and maybe the last is this entire ecosystem of maybe charging or safety equipment. Um, and so I think we are going to progress on this sequentially. This is a very large problem, and people will laugh at our face. And I'm sure there are people who still laugh at our face that these guys are attempting to bite more than they can chew. So I think Aryan and I are try to keep our enthusiasm and our grand plans under wrap, not because we have want to hide anything, but simply some of these plans, frankly, might sound a little ridiculous to people. But I think to answer your question succinctly, which I normally don't do, I tend to be very verbose about things. The ability to offer online the widest breadth and depth of two-wheeler EVs, and the ability to enable touch and feel, either by getting the
Yeah.
product to the customer or getting the customer to where the product is. I think we're going to focus on those two problems over the next 2 quarters, 3 quarters, or perhaps the remainder of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, I would like to share, like, ask you a idea-based question. That what if because you said the dealers are facing this problem because they're far in, like, in this, like, away from the city or the footfall, like electric EV dealers out there. So what if there was, I bet and believe that you've seen Yulu stations across the city, right? So what
Yeah.
if there were Yulu sort of those kind of stations for trial these EV low speed scooters or like two wheelers, and just to test these people out, so you don't, like, the challenge is not to wait for someone to order a trial or like wait for people to come to the showroom. So figure out a hotspot and you take the market there. So like,
Yeah, great point. Great point. And I think it's kind of similar to the omni-channel model that we are thinking of.
yeah.
We don't
So
want to
you're like a
announce it
one of
yet.
each brand, like five scooters,
Absolutely.
one of each
Absolutely.
brand. You can try it there. You can have one representative standing
Yeah.
there to ensure the
It's
trial.
very similar to the model that we're trying out.
Yeah.
Close enough. Just misses it by a very, very small edge. I
Okay.
think that's what remained it. But the thing is, people need a proper experience to this.
Yeah.
Market that we understand so far. So it's a market that whoever is buying this two-wheeler, it's a milestone in their life. Therefore, they want to experience it with the proper uh, method that exists.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times they're not able to experience this whole thing, and it becomes like a very small thing that we bought a two-wheeler.
Yeah.
But honestly, knowing target market, knowing this thing, it's a very big day in their life. And to be able to bring this exact experience, we're trying to empower it with convenience and making this whole journey alive. And by doing that, by taking a customer to that place makes it a bit difficult because of our time and study motions. We've done a lot on these. So, you're just making a multi-vendor cost-effective measure to do this.
Yeah.
However, what we've realized is that rather than these vehicles, being in one spot and the customers coming to this, we could do the opposite to be able to empower that. And in the entire grand scheme, we're trying to revolutionize this entire um, automotive sales and distribution by empowering OEMs, dealers, our own networks, our local entrepreneurs, gig workers, everybody. So in this journey, if the way and with God's grace, we're able to bring this entire aspect alive, we would be able to uh, truly and change the way automotive sales and distribution has worked for the last 60 to 70 years.
Yeah.
So
I
Makes
think
sense.
on a lighter note, I think Osama, you've got a parallel shadow career as a business idea generator. So I
अच्छा.
think it's
I am a
quite.
consultant. I am a
Oh, okay,
consultant.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So we will definitely, we're anyway practically neighbors.
Yeah.
So, we should definitely meet up in person. But I think even with this one, you kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The model,
Thank you.
insofar as what you've suggested, I think has some practicality to it. For example, if products are just left there, there is pilferage and,
Yeah.
all those issues, the liability becomes too much. But I think just like dark stores have
Yeah.
revolutionized quick
Exactly.
commerce,
Yeah.
there is a model within this space to be able to bring that little bit of change, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, spot on again. I think
Yeah.
that's the second one you've hit it
मेरे
on the
दिमाग
head.
में तो एक चीज आ रही थी, like to be very honest, like if you just like the best way to like drive a trend is with the youth, right? And
Yeah,
there are like in especially Delhi, there are like massive institutes of youth. Like we have the high one of the highest youth capital in the world probably, like,
yeah,
because of the institutions, great institutions that we have
yeah.
in our city. So if you just able to like जैसे आपने बोला था कि IIT बॉम्बे से आपने इंजीनियर्स बुलाए थे for chemical and mechanical segment.
Hmm.
So let's say that you just put up like several stations of trials in IIT Delhi. It's a big campus. So just from within, like you can't leave the premises, but from going from point A to point B, you can use those scooters. So I think that could just be an experiential moment for a lot of like scooter companies, that they can give these future CEOs or future like great employees, like senior employees in other startups or companies, that can take the experience with them.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
very, very much so. And in fact, that is starting. In fact, tomorrow we are starting with an initiative called, I mean, we call it EV Melas, but because the gig riders are the first port
yeah,
of call. So at some of these delivery hubs, we are going to be setting up, every few days we'll bring in a couple of products from a partner. Our next port of call will be education institutes. So,
yeah,
we're thinking right now of like parent teacher meetings, that's where you'll
yeah,
have the influencer and the buyer both.
yeah,
And we're also thinking of B2B2C. So,
yeah,
can you have, Delhi has about 40, 50, 100 buildings with about 5,000 people each. Could you
yeah,
set up mini experiential centers? So at
yeah,
least maybe not for the whole month, but maybe for a couple of hours a day, and
yeah,
you do it periodically. And I think to your point, online to theek hai, but jo dikhta hai wohi bikta hai, right? I mean, you
yeah,
need to see the product. So
yeah,
spot on.
yeah.
Sorry, you were saying something.
Yep. I think your Craigslist could very easily be these Blinkits and Zeptos and like Zomatos and Swiggy. You can just keep ordering food and stuff. And जो अब rider आया उसको बोलो कि भाई तू EV क्यों नहीं use करता?
Correct.
Like why don't you just like I'll buy a petrol vehicle off of you. You just buy this or just exchange it for the same price if the price matches, and you just live an easier life.
Correct. And I've done that. Trust me. I mean, I still remember a couple of weeks ago, my wife came out and she was like, why are you speaking for so long to the delivery guy? Any problem? So I was like, नहीं मैं बस उसे अपना कार्ड दे रहा था पूछ रहा था भैया क्या चलाते हो कितना
Yeah.
पैसा. So you could do all the structured research you want, but it's really
On ground is
these
completely different.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I think I just have a last question, one last question for the virality segment of the podcast. Okay, we've spoken about like product and like the vision and the like the scope of the and the TAM probably in detail. What I would like to understand is how you would take care of customer service. Let's say someone buys from you. How would you deal with something like of an Ola fiasco? Let's say that you bring in a lot of big brands, but big brands come with bigger problems. So you can't just say, right, that if someone buys from you through your platform, you can't just say that just go deal with Ola. And Ola customer service support does not respond. That is their biggest challenge. How would you solve for that problem? Would that be your USP? Because I think that alone could be a USP, right? That
Yeah.
we are always responsive. Ola cannot be responsive, but we will be responsive. So if you do that, I think that would be a great differentiator, because Blue Smart has done something similar, that we will not cancel your journey. Like just that small differentiation. For me, it's not premium nets. It's not the
Mm.
trend. For me, it's that they will not cancel on me. Even if they're coming after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I know they will come for sure, because for me टाइम इज ऑफ एसेंस राइट. क्योंकि
Hmm.
लोग मतलब 10-20 मिनट तो मेरा उसमें ही चला जाता है ऊबर में, और
Hmm.
फ्रस्ट्रेशन अलग.
Yeah, fair
तो
enough.
तो वो मेरे लिए ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि माई
Hmm.
पीस ऑफ माइंड, दैट अब
Yeah.
उसने बोल दिया 18 मिनट में आएगा तो 18 मिनट में आ जाएगा. मुझे फ़ोन भी नहीं करना उसको पलट के कि भैया आ
Hmm.
रहे हो नहीं आ रहे. So that
Correct.
customer service is alone enough for me or people like me to get on board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think but that's a bit of a softer angle to it because legality mandates that we very clearly and upfront tell people that guarantees and warranties are the liability of the OEM. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, one of the reasons, for example, I'll give you an example of my dad. My dad, every time I've seen him buying a white good, any electronics, he always goes to these stores
Yeah.
and I tell him that, they're available for 4-5 thousand cheaper on Amazon.
Yeah.
And he's like, बेटा कौन Amazon को फोन करेगा? Amazon तो बोल देगा कि यार ये तो Samsung की गलती है, right?
Exactly.
Or it's something. And then, so you're spot on. I think what you write in your agreements is one thing, but at the end of the day, I think this is one thing that Aryan and I have set out that, if it means taking it up uh, with the manufacturer, right? To saying, telling your customer, boss, hang on, we are with you. We are going to take it up.
Yeah.
And then there could be for several cases where we may need to reimburse the customer out of
Yeah.
our pocket.
Yeah.
And I think companies choose to burn money to advertise. Why not burn money to delight or surprise or
Exactly.
give that X factor?
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And especially when you're small, you could do this on your own. And honestly, everything need not be, I'm going to replace your product. It could even be, okay, you know what, you want a replacement. The OEM is not agreeing to one. Let's help you at least repair it,
Yeah.
right? Get it roadworthy. So I think spot on. So I think three of
Yeah.
your pieces of advice
Yeah.
have all been
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah, I think you could actually replace and you can take the defected product, you can get that repaired and sell that at a cheaper price as a
Correct.
refurbished product. So
Correct.
you
So
delight and create an inventory.
another possible way how we're looking at it is we're partnering up with multiple different companies because our e-commerce game, this one last
Yeah,
minute for this e-commerce games comes with a lot of partnerships. And what we're
yeah,
expecting is that we are able to craft up, and we're talking to a lot of people to be able to cater to the servicing market as well, able to, reach to the customer because right for today, customers are God and they
yeah,
will always be like God to us. So, um, similarly, we're trying to provide this great experience to them that EVs are not something bad. EVs are not something you'll struggle with.
yeah,
It'll make your life easier. That's basically our CTA. So now when we come down to this, we're partnering up with a bunch of people to be able to get this off ground. And secondly, we're also trying to do something of our own that will take time, will take some money, will take some research. We're not there yet. It'll take a lot of time, but sooner rather than later, we'll have something
but I
going
think
on
it will
there.
be a great marketing gimmick for Lilypad,
Hmm.
and like a great credibility gimmick for Lilypad. That if you just market it on all social media platform on through ads, maybe that anyone of you who has a default like a uh, faulty Ola vehicle, just sell it to us. If Ola will not respond, we'll respond. I think that will go viral like crazy, and
Another
you could,
initiative that
yeah,
we're trying to empower, and I would just like to say it here, is that we're trying to bring the whole EV adoption into India. So what we're also trying to do is sell us your old ICE vehicle,
yeah.
we'll give you an EV.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
So, but if you solve for the Ola problem that Ola is not able to solve for, so
mhm,
I think that would give you, and it's not that those pieces are irreparable. People
mhm,
just don't want to pay after paying 1 lakh rupees. They don't want to pay another lakh to repair it.
correct.
Yeah. I think Osama, it's also Ola's come under a lot of bad press. Maybe some of it is justified, maybe some of it is
Yeah,
unjustified. I don't want to get into that, but frankly speaking, Aryan and I monitor about 15 WhatsApp and Telegram channels with about 5,000 customers. We actually catalog the number of complaints, and ever since their focus has been on that. So if you look at it, last couple of months the number of complaints have actually gone down significantly. And finally, one of our advisors told us that, look, it's not your business to tell people that you're going to make EV safer. I mean, there are companies who are going to spend about 40-50,000 crores of investment
yeah,
on batteries and allied technologies.
yeah,
So someone who spends 50,000 crore is going to ensure that his money is,
yeah,
taken care of. But yeah, I mean, finally, you live and die by good customer service, right? And I think
yeah,
it's those small little things. Many a time they need not be written in a contract, but it's just that then someone will have you'll that one person will go and tell 20 people, and then they'll tell 20
Exactly.
people. So that's going to
It's a
be,
trust factor कि
yeah,
मैं कि कोई ब्रांड छोड़ के प्रॉब्लम मिंत्रा से खरीदना प्रेफर करता हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि खुदा ना खास्ता कुछ बदलना भी पड़ा तो मैं 2 दिन में बदल सकता हूँ। वो एक्सचेंज लेके आएगा और मेरा प्रोडक्ट लेके जाएगा, जो
correct,
साइज का अगर डिफरेंस है या रिटर्न करना है, कुछ भी करना
correct,
है, नो क्वेश्चंस आस्क्ड, लाइक 14
yeah,
days इन 14 days,
yeah,
राइट?
yeah,
बट इफ वर्सेस आई इफ आई गो टू अ स्टोर, regardless of how good of an experience it is for me, like in person experience, look and feel and everything, right? But I still have to go there to replace
yeah,
it if something is off.
yeah,
So even though they allow it, but I still have to go. It's a hassle for me. So I think time and convenience is of essence, and quick commerce as a concept over the last 3 years has proven so. Like
yeah,
they're only profitable because the original argument was कि कोई 20 रुपए क्यों देगा, नीचे उतर के लेंगे.
hmm,
I have written pieces over it, so I
yeah,
know for a fact that this was the original backlash that quick commerce was getting, and look where it is now.
yeah,
Now everyone wants to pay 20 rupees to get things at home. People
right,
are asking their own Kirana stores कि आप ले लो 20 रुपए आप दे दो. So
correct,
the consumer behavior will always incline towards convenience, right?
yeah.
So it's convenience and like ease of use. Uh,
Exactly. I mean, price and quality are almost given, right?
yeah,
That people will expect good products at a good price.
yeah,
But I think, you're right. Finally, at the end of the day, there is that one thing that you'll have to be known for.
yeah,
Maybe it is the cheapest, and there'll be an audience for that. Maybe it'll be, the widest variety. There'll be an audience for that. Maybe it's convenience, trust, so many things. But
yeah.
yeah, great. I think we should be getting in touch with you after this for more advice. I mean, you have better insight than us. So um,
That's so very kind of you. But I had a really good time. I think I have a much better understanding of Lilypad and EV market in general, thanks to you and Aryan. And I, re- I really, really hope that people who watch this episode are able to also understand and get inspired if they want to do something of their own in the EV space, because it's going to be big in many ways. We're going to see SaaS in EV. We're going to see like other products like accessories in EV, and so it's a like blue ocean space for now, because it's not very well capitalized at the moment, except for the big giants. So, but thank you so much. I think that's it from my side. I had a really good time. Is there? I would love to get your personal thoughts for probably as an ending note that you would like to end this episode on for the viewers. You can go first there, and then we can have Aryan's word.
Yeah, I mean, look, insofar as entrepreneurship is concerned, I mean, one of the things we didn't touch upon is, I spent a couple of decades working, and I've taken all the negative aspects of working for someone else and working in large, nameless, faceless organizations. And I think finally, it doesn't depend what we do. It doesn't matter what we do. What Aryan and I actually also want to do is to set in place a small little company that generally takes care of its people and is the
Yeah.
antithesis to the large, nameless monoliths that exist out there. So, to everyone who's considering entrepreneurship, don't wait till you're as old as me. Try it when you're as young as Aryan. So, with that, thanks so much. And Aryan, over to you for conclusion.
I think, to this point, I think until you take a risk, I don't think you'll be able to, see what the world actually has to offer you. It's filled with challenges. It's filled horribly with challenges, a lot of hardships.
Yeah.
But there will be one day that will come that will make you feel like everything is worth living for, and whatever you've struggled for is worth it. And that exact day pays off for all the hard works that exists. So, uh, what I would say is that keep looking out for us, keep looking out for yourself. And if you're ever willing to buy an EV, come to Lilypad.
That's beautiful. That's very beautifully put. Thank you there. Thank you, Aryan. And I will stop the recording and see you guys off now.
All right.